everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the podcast, Buy Your Kids a House. I'm Andrew Higgins, and this is...
Now, I'm Matt Garlock, and I'm sure we've all heard about saving money for your kids' college funds. But we talk about buying your kids a house instead.
Real money to build a better future. Before we get into all the different topics we're going to be talking about today, let's go over a little bit about our histories and where we come from and how we got to this. And like I said, I'm Andrew. I've been in the Orlando area for about 15 years now. I have been in the food industry for 12 and been in the film industry for about 15 years as well. I'm in my mid-30s, I'm renting, I'm looking to buy a house, but looking at all the different options right now, it's sometimes overwhelming to be able to see all the different numbers and the trends going up and down, and if it's better for me right now just to keep renting, or if it is a good option to go ahead and start the process of buying a house and looking at the market like it is today. So going into all of these different things for me as well, what's some things about you?
Absolutely. Well, again, I'm Matt. I am born and raised in Florida, so I am Florida man. I've been in the hospitality restaurant industry for about 25 years now. I was originally going to school at UCF for aerospace engineering, but right when I was graduating was the housing market crash of 2008, right when the shuttle market was also at NASA was shutting down. So all of a sudden the air became flooded with tons of people that had degrees, that had years of experience, and here I was about to have this new shiny piece of paper that wasn't going to do anything. So I pivoted, went in more staying with the restaurant service industry, went into management there, climbed that ladder, saw what it was like, hated it, came back down, everything. So then about 15 years ago, I started looking into other elements I could look into, and that include personal finance. I figured I was very good at helping with people with their budget, especially those working in the service industry, because I love our people working in the service industry. I will fully admit we were all terrible with our money. We are very cash in hand, and cash in hand that night, and it burns a hole through our pocket very fast.
Yes.
So I looked at helping create opportunity for creating their budget, setting them up for their investments, because also a lot of times, because we're in the tip industry, they don't have access to things like 401ks and everything through work, so you have to do it yourself, and a lot of times you don't do it yourself, you put it off.
Right.
You delay doing it, and then along that journey, I also ended up looking into it like, well, I really like the thoughts of what it looks like to invest in things, but also I want to look at the how and why and the nuts and bolts, and that led me into the world of data science. And I actually recently just graduated with my master's in data science, and along that aspect, I'm able to see the trends in the data of how things are going, and we can all see that there's lots of changes in the financial world that we're facing this day and age. It is not the same world that our parents or our grandparents grew up in.
Right.
The numbers and finance scheme has changed, and we have to change along with it.
Right.
And with that, we're trying to see what it looks like into the aspect of how do we fix that game going forward and set ourselves up for a better future, not only for ourselves, but for our kids. I am a parent of two. My daughter's 10, my son's 7, and seeing along those lines of what it's like for their future. And even when I started as a new parent, everything, I looked at the challenges of, like, they tell you how it is to feed and change and all the the different habits of your kids,
right.
But they don't go into the financial side of things.
Right, the newborn books, they're just like, this is how you cradle the baby.
Yep.
Like, how do you pay for the baby?
Yeah, how do you afford this dang thing? And setting your kids up for their financial journey and success, and have a better chance at what they want to do in life, more so than what even I had set up for myself.
Right, absolutely. And so it's important to go over these things and talk about these different topics of what we're going to dive into with the podcast, not only for families, but for years I didn't even think for myself, like building the future, because 20s, you don't think about it. You're like, here's the money, I'll pay for whatever I want to pay for, do whatever I want, and next thing you know, you don't have the money again, especially with the economy the way it is right now. So it's looking at those things and how it differs between both of us, but also the importance for me as well as it is for you and your family. Now, obviously you have a little bit more into it because of the kids, but at the same time, I would like to buy a house in the next 3 years, and looking at to retire early and be able to set my future up as well. So going into the podcast and doing the different topics, we're learning as well as we're helping put the information out there as well. But what are some of the things that we're going to see with these episodes?
So as we're going through this process, I'm in the process of writing a book called Buy Your Kids a House. And with that, the thought that came into play for that was my daughter, who's now 10, but back when she was in kindergarten, we were driving to school one day, and she goes, "Daddy, I know what I want to do when I grow up." And I was excited for her. I'm like, "Hey, what do you want to do when you grow up?" And she's like, "I want to be a teacher." And rather than being excited for her, my first fear in the back of my head was the teacher income just isn't there. it should be there. I really wish that it was, but unfortunately it isn't. And I had that pause moment, which is a terrible feeling. I felt terrible for myself that like I wasn't as excited for her as she was telling me about what she wanted to do. So I went home and thought about it for a minute, and I'm like, well, I as a parent should set my kids up for success in whatever adventure that they want to do in life. And with that, I try to change the mindset of like, okay, she wants to be a teacher. How can I set her up for that future success? Not just paying for college and everything, because obviously, tuition, student loan debt, and everything is a big issue that a lot of people are facing these days. I was up on set for that. But how can I set up in the future beyond that, where she could still do the passion and what she loves to do, which would potentially be teaching, but not worry about the burdens of paying for a house, having a car payment, food on the table, whatever her family has, and take that burden off of her plate. Because I, as a parent, that's my number one goal, is to make sure that she's happy what she's doing, but has the right tools in place in order to move forward with that. So that's where the thought came from of buying your kids a house, because obviously, as we look at like a lot of the burdens and everything we're facing financially, whether it's student loan tuition, car payments, the housing market, healthcare, all those things are rising. How can we look at taking those burdens off of not only our plates but our kids' plates and grandkids' plates, so that they're able to have that without having the financial burden of worrying about it on a daily basis.
Exactly, and we started talking about this about 2 years ago. Just the concepts, and podcast is a relatively new idea, but going into it, what really resonated with me was when he said that she wanted to be a teacher, and your first thought was that would have been my first thought too if it was my kid. And unfortunately, because of these lower incomes jobs that should be a lot higher, like teaching, you're just not able to set yourself up. So looking at the different things, it really resonated with me. Even just me being by myself without a family, being able to talk about it and learn and see how I can also apply those things to me as well, because the goal is to be able to live your life happily and free of the burdens, specifically financial burdens, because those are the ones that really just weigh on you, the sleepless nights, the stress, things like that, and then you just don't do anything else. So being able to get out of that and the burdens, like you were saying, to be able to live your life happily while setting up for a better future, early retirement, homes, vacations, different things like that, is really something that I want to apply to my life as well.
Again, we're looking at trying to figure out how to alleviate that, whether it's through dividend funds to help replace things like car payments, or vacations and things, your general investments, whether it's your Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, 401ks that are offered at work, which unfortunately are getting less and less by the day. The fact, unfortunately, a lot of us don't get pensions and everything anymore. Pensions is becoming a word that is disappearing at most job offerings these days. And what we need to do to find out what number we need to have the retirement on, and then what number that would be for our kids. Because obviously, with inflation, the number that our kids are going to need to retire on, 40, 50, 60, 80 years down the road is much greater of a number than what we are in our current timeline and everything, what we're facing. So with that, we're going to explore what it takes, because yes, we have the burden of time for them, but we also have the ability of time, because as we're going to go to a lot of these concepts, you're going to see one of the number of factors of this is time.
Right.
The longer we have to invest for them, the more they can grow in their wealth and everything with that. Where unfortunately, I'm already in my 40s, so my time frame is a lot shorter and everything.
Right.
So what takes to catch up in that process? But I'm not saying all is lost and everything. Even if you are in your 40s and even 50s, there's still things you can do to help create a better future and everything with that. But it definitely is easier when looking at kids, especially if you're about to be a newborn parent.
Right.
If you just found out and got the great news, hey, I'm about to be a dad, mom, who and everything, like you're gonna have that moment of like, oh great, how am I gonna pay for this?
That excitement comes, and then the instant like, oh no,
how can I afford this? How can I afford this thing that I gotta feed for the next 18 years and then beyond and everything like that? And so we're looking at what it takes and everything to set that up, because I know I have a lot of friends of mine, again, being a little bit older, I'm even a little late to the parent game for my age. I have a lot of parents that, that have kids in high school, and they're just not realizing, like, oh wait, my kid's gonna go to college potentially in 3 to 4 years.
Right.
And now looking to afford it and everything, rather than starting back when they were a newborn, and you have more of that time.
And setting it up from the very beginning.
Yeah. And then with that, we're also not just gonna look at the elements of what the finances are of it and everything, but we're also gonna look at, I wanna do other podcasts in our series are going to have Fix the Future. So with Fix the Future, we're going to look at the challenges that we're facing going forward. I think we all agree upon the challenges and everything of that, whether it's the housing market, the job market, inflation, the environment, things along those lines. But we also want to look at it not just from a pointing out the problem standpoint,
Right.
but we want to try to see if we can find solutions.
Exactly.
And I know we're just two guys and a camera and everything right now, but we're going to see what we can do to find solutions to these things to, again, set our kids up and even ourselves up for a better future, because these are all things that I think we can all agree they're going to be facing us, also,
Right.
including healthcare and everything. Then with that, we're also going to have a health and wellness section. As again, I'm a little bit older, I need to lose a little bit of weight and things along those lines. So we're going to look at things that actually are beneficial, and then what is going forward, whether it's changing of diets, exercise, what exercise in the area does things like cold plunges and saunas and things. Do they actually work and have a benefit? Is it worth the benefit of the cost? Things along those lines. And with it also have a little added twist of I do a lot of the Run Disney activities. And is the cost of what you get for those versus just going to your neighborhood 5Ks and things like that? Is there a better benefit of it, of engaging, keeping you active, and everything going along with that?
Right, something to scale versus just your little local things.
Yeah, we're all used to that turkey trots on Thanksgiving morning and everything, but is there a benefit from traveling and having a bigger goal to set up for and everything, and trying to meet that goal, including doing a full marathon, or even the Dobie
Right.
challenge where you're doing the 5K, 10K, half and full over 4 days, so you're having a bigger challenge versus just you're rolling out of bed doing a 5K and then you're back in bed, things along those lines. So is there a better benefit with that?
Exactly.
And then also with that, we're going to also have we're not just talking about always being in and active of my money only goes to this. We're only going to eat chicken and rice and everything. We're also going to have treat yourself. So with treat yourself, we're going to have diving into things.
Yeah.
We're both big fans of bourbon.
Exactly. Oh man, I do love a good bourbon. And sometimes, depending on the bourbon, the cost versus the value, it varies. So like diving into that and going into the different aspects of that, we're going to have the elements of all of the financial things and setting yourself up, but with the fun.
Yeah.
So like having fun with it, having fun doing the bourbon, trying different things, going out, trying different experiences. Because we're lucky here in the Orlando area, there's something to do everywhere.
Yeah.
So almost any time too, from the natural springs to downtown to the theme parks, like there's always something to do. But do we always want to pay for that?
No.
Do you want to pay the prices for a day in a theme park, or go somewhere else if it's better for a better experience to go see like one of the springs we have here, or swim with the manatees even. That's something crazy that who would have thought in the Orlando area that you could do something like that.
Go poke a sea cow.
Yeah, exactly. And I know everyone's from everywhere else as well, so not just only in the Orlando area. So being able to find those local areas of just really fun things to do to get out. And it also ties into being more active too, instead of just watching a movie or going to see a movie or just out to dinner, going to a park or experiencing the different like landmarks in the area or the histories and things like that, diving into those.
Yeah. And figuring out does it fit into your budget and everything, and we'll go
Exactly.
into creating the budget and seeing exactly how much of an area of budget we can afford to fit those things into. And while also figuring out with your budget and everything, we have the last series of the podcast and everything we're going to be doing is kids' activities and sports. My kids are now really big into golf and softball and things, and seeing the growing cost and time consumption of those elements is a challenge. And I'm not just talking about golf and softball. I'm sure a lot of people out here are facing, between dance and cheerleading and acting, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. There's tons of activities. The rise of travel ball, which a lot of people probably said shivers up and down your spine. You heard the word travel ball, or maybe it excites you and everything along those lines. But looking into it, that is a rising concern in cost, because a lot of parents want to set their kids up for the best that they have, and does that come along with taking on all the financial burden and debt? Like I've seen, my daughter has a $450 bat. Is it worth getting at what age of these types of things? Because you feel like if you're not doing it, then you're not being as good of a parent for your kids. You're not doing everything you can to set them up for everything. But where do we find that healthy balance?
I was going to say, finding that line is definitely, it's a fine line, especially with kids. I grew up in a big family. I don't have my own family now, but I experienced all of that. Like some of us got to do what we wanted to do, and some of us didn't get to do what we wanted to do growing up. And looking into those things, like you were saying, like when is it appropriate? Like when does the skill level, like for sports specifically, hit? Okay, now you need that next tier of better equipment, and how can I budget that to fit it into everything else without draining the bank or going into debt and things like that.
You got the private lessons, and and some of these practices are 3, 4, 5 days a week, plus in the weekend tournaments. And then also the challenge of so my family, we are a 2-income family. So me and my wife both work full time, and with that, just getting the kids from school to these activities, like like we're paying for aftercare. How do we quickly get there in time to pick them up and get them to whatever, fitting in their school homework, making sure their grades are staying where they need to be, and how to juggle that whole aspect being a 2-income family, because I'm sure a lot of people out here in the same boat of there isn't that many abilities to be a 1-income family anymore.
Yeah.
So having that challenge of being a 2-income and bouncing things off, like luckily my wife's very supportive and we tag team off of each other, when to get the kid to whatever activity, or even splitting up, like I'll take my daughter to softball while she takes my son to golf and things.
Yeah.
But also just trying to get there in time, because especially as another change is going on, is a lot of return to the office, and we're changing in that structure of how things are. Just getting across Orlando to get them in time is a challenge. It's
right.
tough. And then I add in homework. Is we were talking earlier and everything. My son yesterday was very, very challenging with his homework, and I'm like, buddy, we got to get this done before you're not going to want to do it while sitting at your sister's softball. You don't want to do it when you're playing golf and everything, and it's due on Friday and everything. So these are the part of the life structure that they have to figure out and everything to get what they want to do and keep it balanced like that.
So all of these topics we're going to dive into. There's a lot of different things as well we're going to incorporate as we learn. We want to hear from you as we go along as well, what topics you like to hear from, or if we don't touch on something as well. But we definitely, I'm excited for is the treat yourself. But also to gain more knowledge as well. So from the housing markets, the stock markets, the economy, everything, what is trending up, trending down, going into all of those like we've talked about, and those different topics, it's going to be exciting.
No, I'm excited. And this is also, well, yes, I'm writing a book on this aspect. My book is not the definitive end all be all. This is a scientific experiment at its finest.
Right.
I have my hypothesis, but we're going to be testing that hypothesis the whole way. And with that, we're going to be showing you along the way what exactly we're doing, like how we are creating our budget, where our budget is going to, what we're investing in, testing out things. Now, I will fully say I'm a little more old school when it comes to investing. I'm more stock market, dividends, things along those lines. But I'm still going to explore crypto and even sports betting and other things to see out there what is out there. Like, I will fully admit I don't know as much about crypto as I probably should, and we'll bring people in that will help out with that aspect and educate us, and we'll compare and see. Obviously a lot of people have the idea we'll want to get rich quick and everything. I'm more of the long, slow burn and everything with it, but we will put them side by side and test it out. I might be wrong, and we'll see something else better along those lines. And then with that, if you're along the journey with us and everything and try to reach those same goals, you'll see as our proven track record shows of where we're at. Like where's our wins, where's our losses, and we're not going to hide any of that. We're going to be fully in front of again, if something I recommend doesn't work, we're going to bring it up on here. If something is excelling more than what we thought, we're going to bring it up on here. So we're going to explore all these avenues and what it takes in the theories of the book, but then we'll test them out and see does it actually work in the real world.
No, absolutely. Everyone's going to get the good, the bad, the ugly out of it. And finding those statistics too, because like you were saying, when you compare it, then you have the data. It's no longer just a hypothesis. You're actually seeing a result of something happening, and you can compare it to other things like that. And like you said, seeing what works, what doesn't work. And I'm expecting great things and moments of being like, oh, I didn't know that.
I always loved the old show Mythbusters. Again, you go in with your thought, your hypothesis, but the results and the data it doesn't lie. It shows you exactly what it is, and some of the times it's most exciting is when you go with your hypothesis and you're proven completely wrong.
Exactly.
Like you think it's going to do one thing and it zigs
the other way. Completely.
That's where I find the excitement of that and everything, because we all have our own pre-thoughts and ideas and concepts, and then we think we know it is. But again, if we're showing the results of the data and everything along those lines over the course of our own experiment of doing this, we'll see what works and what doesn't and everything, and find out where the end result with it. And then with that, we also want you guys also to please, we're not going to think of everything. Put in the comments on there like other thoughts you might have, other areas and topics of concerns. Where are your finances impacted at and everything? Like how we are impacted in Orlando may not be what's impacting in your area and what's important to you. You might have your own fixed to future concerns based on your town and like in an area. Please put those in the comments, because while yes, we're going to originally think about Orlando first because that's what we're facing in our faces.
Right.
But we want to expand out and figure out other things in other areas, and not just around the United States, but the whole rest of the world, because we are now a global economy and we're all in this together.
Exactly.
So please give us ideas. Also challenge us. So put in there like, hey, like I don't like that stock or that dividend or that whatever and everything, or
Right.
challenge us on it and everything, because open, healthy discussion is okay.
Absolutely, yeah. We want to be able to talk about these different things because what works for us, like you said, here in Orlando, may not work for somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because it's completely different everywhere.
Yeah. Our job market in Orlando is totally different than in Sheboygan or out in Washington State or even California or Texas or Alaska. Everyone has their own mini economy within their own substructure, and again, adjusting and changing that to fit your own setting and needs is important.
Absolutely. So these are some of the things we do. Like you said, we want to hear from you as well, because we're learning, you're learning, we're all in this journey together. But we're super excited to be sharing all of these different things with you, and we want everyone to be able to have a better future for yourselves, for your family, your health, being able to wake up in the morning and, be wide awake and happy, to be able to move forward through the day and not be completely stressed out, especially with the way things are today. There's a lot of stressors, so to help just get that intel, the data, and to be able to put it into practical use and see what those things do and don't work moving forward, we're super excited to be along this journey with them.
Absolutely, and please, if you like what you saw, even just from our first episode, please help us out, hitting all the buttons, your like, your share, your subscribe, tell your friends and family about us, post about like, hey, post things on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, like I found this awesome new podcast, I really think there's potential there and everything you can to help us out and everything, because helping us out in this journey and everything will help us be able to create more content like this and everything going forward, and we want to be on this journey together for a long time. So
absolutely. Well, this has concluded our first, I don't know if you could tell.
We made it.
We went into this super nervous. We sat here for probably 20 minutes before, going over topics, being able to get rid of the ums and ands as best as we can.
The minute you hit stop, I'm going to have a heart attack. This might be the end of my journey.
Well, thank you again, everyone. We're looking forward to great things, to hearing from you as well, and we're excited to hear what you think of us as well throughout this process.
Awesome.
Till next time.
Absolutely. Take care.